Guys on Facebook are watching. Probably want to come over to the YouTube if it actually works this time. Hey guys, Rex here. We got Mrs. Rex sitting here with us. We're going to show off some of the cool stuff that we're putting together lately on the channel. And you guys are going to be excited to see this. And I do believe I have this. I do have the mode, don't I? All right. If you're on Facebook, you're going to probably want to come over to the YouTube so you can fully see kind of what's going on. Unless you want to point, can we do that reverse deal on here?
Looks like it.
As reliable as politicians, no kidding. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to give this over. Did you want to drive this for me, Mrs. Rex? So when I'm showing something, just like show it on the table here, and then they'll see it on the Facebook. Otherwise, they're not going to see anything.
Your power cord.
Yeah, my power cord's all in a knot here.
It's not long enough.
Yeah. I'm telling you, I need to hire like a TV crew. Hey, check this out. We'll go until the battery dies. Okay? So, we'll just show the stuff only on the table here. You ready? Okay. All right, so we got a lot of cool stuff on the table here, guys. I'll get you all situated here. How you doing on this fine Sunday morning? Okay, let's see what we got here. All right. I was going to show you some neat stuff. We're putting together the World War III rifle, as you guys know. Okay, we finally got some of the last components we're waiting for on the way in. We did get our Badger bottom metal. This is the, what do they call it? The M5, I believe. We're going to put that in. We're going to run, I run these magazines, these AI magazines on most of my stuff. So, that's going to be good for that. I wanted something that's just robust and easy that I got good muscle memory with. To release it, you just pop it forward like that. So that's pretty easy to run. And we're putting it in this McMillan A5 chassis, configured specifically for my applications. There are like infinite ways you can adjust these things, or when you buy them. You fill out a whole form, or it's best probably just to call the tech on the phone, and they got good customer service. They'll get you squared away if you have any questions. Like, there's a lot of terms they use that I don't know what they're talking about. They had different fill options. That means what kind of material it's filled with, it's made out of, what recipe of fiberglass you're using, what kind of cheek piece movement system you got. For example, on my old Surgeon, I have 2 adjustment knobs. This one has the 1. This is actually a lot nicer, I think. You pick, there's like infinite colors. Most guys get carried away with color. I really don't care about color as long as it's not, you know, if World War III ever were to actually hit, I'm going to rattle can everything and take the shine out of it. But I did specifically want this long bottom rail on here so that I can run my Accuracy Solutions Extendipod deal here. I'll show you that after a little bit. But one of the final things I was waiting for, and there's some news in this category too, is actually this right here. And this is, as you guys know, I run Huber concepts on any of my Remingtons, especially the Remington 700s. I'm just not a fan of the Remington 700 trigger at all, or any of the rifles where they're configured like a Remington 700, where you know, you can hang the same trigger from there, like if you're running a Surgeon or any of that other stuff that takes the 700 triggers. This is my favorite. This is configurable in either a single stage or 2-stage, and I actually do prefer the 2-stage for a lot of different reasons. Probably the same reasons that most military rifles are configured that way. We talk about that a lot at the seminar. The way you can feel your fingers, your sensation, your dexterity changes with adrenaline. And usually when you're about to shoot something in a real life type deal, whether that be a big monster buck or if you're helping Patrick Swayze kill the Russians when they paratroop in on your little town in Colorado or wherever you're at, things change a little bit. That being said, this is still a precision rifle that we're building here. So this is going to be a rifle configured on basically a Remington 700 AAC 308, okay? And if we need to accurize it to get it to shoot real good, we'll do that. Usually they shoot surprisingly well. What I've been using for budget ammo lately has been this stuff. Like if you over-the-counter budget ammo that actually works good but isn't super expensive and you can find it anywhere, this is what I've been running. I've been running this for a long time. We did get a big batch in about a year ago. We ran Miss Casey Day through her course with this stuff, and so she was doing no problem with the 308 175s down there in that was near Dallas, Texas during the RX live fire class. She was shooting like 1,100 yards, no problem with this stuff. 50% hit ratios at that range for a girl that just learned to shoot. And I mean, these will hold half minute of angle all day. If you got a really good rifle like my other one that I had custom built, very similar configuration, actually quite a bit different, a lot heavier. The other rifle I had built is on an AI chassis, and it has an MTU contour barrel, which is very heavy, and that's an amazing shooting rifle. But I want something that's a little more mobile and a little less strings attached. So the other one I have is on an AI chassis, but we're going to go with McMillan for this one. I'm going to run probably a direct thread silencer or suppressor, if you want to use the PC term, on that. So I'm not sure exactly what configuration you want there, but this is the ammo I run if you need over-the-counter stockpile World War III type ammo. If you want to dramatically extend the range on this deal, when we're putting this build together, we're going to do a lot of demos with it. I'm going to put a 30-minute rail on here. Actually, I might put a proprietary 45-minute rail or something like that on here, just so we can do some demos. You can shoot way farther with the 308 than you might think if you use a proprietary ammo. We're talking about like this stuff. You guys have seen this before probably. At the ELR class, we basically use this, and I got my man Seth on the rifle. We have these little Magnetospeeds so we can confirm hits. You will not see the peripheral splash. For those that don't know what this is one of my last boxes, I think. I'm sorry, Darren. Knocked over the other camera. This is made by TROM, and this is not even like just a straight copper alloy. This is a proprietary alloy, completely redone profile. These are actually a lighter bullet with a very, very, very balanced projectile in terms of dynamic stability. And we go do a whole review trying to explain more of that. We'll do more demos. But at a mile, 1,761 yards, just a little bit over a mile, confirmed with surveying equipment. This thing actually was 3 out of 5 at a mile. Once we figured out with the dope. Now the G1 tables, the drag functions, and the G7 are not appropriate for this because this is a totally different animal. The density is different, the shape is different, the flow dynamics over the sides of the gas checks and negative pressure behind the bullet are totally different on these. So you can shoot a 308 a lot farther if you have specialty ammo, and so you can have 2 sets of tables the way your rifle is zeroed for anything. So for like World War III or for training, for battle, I like to use this stuff. It's very affordable. But if you need to do special purpose type stuff, or if you need maximum long range precision where you shoot way farther than the supersonic range of the projectile, they say 1,100 meters is its range. That's a lie. It actually can go a lot farther than that, as confirmed, even in 25 mile an hour winds, if you know what you're doing once you figure out your dope. Your danger space is pretty tight at that distance, but I'm telling you, it's amazing. These T1000s we use to confirm hits at her ELR class. Basically, you put that behind the target, so the steel's covering the actual mechanism, and then any kind of hit, it has to be a bullet hitting it. It'll blink at you. That's made by Magnetospeed. That's called the T1000. If you haven't seen them deals before. And this is like a soft gel kind of rubber. You can see it did take a bullet here. And I mean, really it'll last. It'll still get blink red. That's the main purpose. If you take some hits, this could actually take probably hundreds of hits and still hold together. It's real pliable, sticky. And these deals are replaceable. They're just a couple bucks a piece. It sticks on with Velcro. And then you Velcro on the back of your steel target that's hanging there. Sometimes it's hard if you don't got good splash around the target to see exactly where you're hitting. So these Magnetospeed T1000s are essential to confirm hits at extreme long ranges, especially on projectiles like these that don't have really good peripheral splash. These are so hard. This is not made for target shooting. If it was made for target shooting, they probably would have went with something softer that would squish out. And they have all kinds of different designs of bullets too that they have for different applications, but these particular ones hold together very well. They're very, very hard, and so they just barely chip the paint exactly where they hit, and then the pieces fly off. So you're not going to see a very clear mark exactly where you hit, unless you look very carefully, and you have to walk down to the target to see exactly where you hit. But you're not going to see a big... It's not like a soft lead bullet hit it and cleaned off the paint for an inch wide deal and then splashed that kind of grayish lead coloring around it so you can see where it hit. With this, very, very hard projectile. Not made for shooting steel. This is made for military applications, actually for hitting the target. But if you need to go super far, that's a good way to go. Also, just in case you guys didn't know about it, they have a different deal called the Flatline, which is a very light, super fast projectile for DMR applications. Basically from 0 to 500 meters, you hold dead center and it hits. After that, it drops out very quickly to reduce peripheral damage, collateral damage. There's been a lot of complaints. You'd be surprised how much the DoD has to shell out cash to local farmers who have some goat or some ox or some some of their property damage when there's a gunfight next door. And so these are made to have limited distance after their effective range. That's what a lot of the DMR guys would use there if they were having the perfect projectile. And so that's something we'll maybe do a demo when we get into the DMR classes next year, because you don't have to do any dope on these out to 500. You just basically hold straight on. And on a bad guy, he's bye-bye. All right. But what I wanted to show you, the main thing I wanted to show you, you get distracted so easily, so many neat things to look at on the table, is I've been running these for a while, the two-stage Huber concepts, and the news is actually really that they have two different lines now. They have the original line, which is just a little bit more money than they have a reduced price line. And I just got this in the mail, so I wanted to do a live stream showing you what we got here. Man, where's my attack knife? I mean my defense knife. This is my utility tool, guys. Thanks to my compadre who hooked me up with this. I'm always losing my stuff in the field. Okay. So what we have here is a Huber. I think these are honestly, especially for Remington 700, the nicest triggers you can get in the world. I've run, my favorite before this was Jewel for a long time. I've had that in my Surgeon 338. It's a little oily right at the moment, so we'll clean it up so you can see it. Let's refocus here. Okay, there we go. So I've run Jewel for years and years and years, a single stage set at 2.5 pounds on that Surgeon. And I did ELR, that's where I did a lot of my fancy money winning shots, I'm a 1 or 2 shot kind of guy. That's the way I like to go. I don't like to send 8 million rounds downrange and, if I don't have to. If I can hit it on the first shot, I'll usually stop. And then I'll walk back down off the mountain. That's at least how I like to do it. But these are neat triggers. Of course, they use ball bearing technology. So they have like very, very hardened, when you're talking about the actual contact surfaces that would normally wear out. It's a super hardened ball bearings in there so that the trigger pull remains consistent for a long time throughout a lot of cycles. You can configure them with normal safeties, normal bolt drops. There's a lot of different configurations for different preferences, and because there's a lot of different the Remington 700 style platforms are so modular, so many different ways you can go. This one is a 2-stage, and let's look at the specs real quick here so I'm not lying to you. There's a preference I have on the way to set these up, and it's nice for several reasons. Let's see here. Give me 1 second. Okay. So it'll come with the data sheet. It'll be serialized. It'll tell you which exact one it is. The peak rate is 2.438. So each one comes with its own data sheet. Their quality control, they test everything that comes out by hand. They just don't throw them together. The configuration, etc. Instructions on how it works, what the ideas are, the patents, and all that kind of stuff. Fun stuff, right? And so you can read through this if you want to learn it. The guy who invented this is kind of a mastermind on the engineering. He really understands the dynamics of how the biology of the human interfaces with the firearm under pressure and how to accomplish that geometrically in a trigger design that interfaces well with the brain so that you can have a perceived pull weight that's actually very, very light, so you can command the shot and time it perfectly. As you know, when you get on target, your crosshairs are not like exactly on there, and there's a certain amount. If you come to the seminars or the live fires, we talk about the fundamentals of marksmanship, squeezing the trigger properly and waiting until your shot is exactly where you want it to be is very important. And so the timing of getting that shot off exactly in the right spot, especially if you're shooting movers, or if you're doing quick wind hold-offs, you have to know when it's going to break. Now, some guys might argue on the details. Come to the seminar, we'll expound more on the context of that whole conversation. But we have a full review. Yes, sir?
December.
Oh, yeah, there's a seminar. The next seminar is in Las Vegas, Nevada, December 1st and 2nd. You can go on Rex Defense's website there and check that out. Thank you for reminding me about that. I always forget to tell people when I'm doing that stuff. But the way that they're engineered, like I said before, and we have a full review on these that's way back in the day. If you go on the search engine on my YouTube page, TiborasaurusRex, I have that little magnifying glass deal up there, and you look for, or if you just type in Huber two-stage triggers, you'll find my comprehensive review, which is like a half-hour long. I explain how the mind works and how the fingers work, how human biology works, and how the shooting process works. And these are all designed with that in mind. So Mr. John Huber is the mastermind. He got these really perfected. Once I did start using them, I got them in most of my rifles. Any of my rifles that they'll fit in, I will use them. Mind you, they do have a little bit larger footprint than some of the other Remington 700s, so you might have to make sure you have some space. You don't want your trigger touching the chassis or the stock. That can produce harmonic anomalies. So do make sure you have enough room to leave this just free hanging in there. If you need a gunsmith to help you with that, that's like a 5-minute check. Very easy to do. The instructions are also included. You can do this at home. I actually, as smart as I like to think I am on this stuff, believe it or not, I always take my stuff to an actual gunsmith who's been doing it for 50 years because there are subtleties that some guys don't realize, and I don't like, especially something as critical as a trigger getting messed up. It's not recommended to play with the adjustments on these, although they are adjustable now. I would just configure it like you want it and then just learn it. A lot of guys are always tweaking their triggers up and down, and what you're doing is you're lessening the effectiveness of your training because you're trying to remember 900 different ways you had your trigger set. So just pick one. My original shooting that I did a long time ago when I was a young man was on a old military trigger on a 1903 Springfield that my uncle made. And that was a 1/8 minute of angle rifle, believe it or not, on a Douglas barrel. If you get everything centered up right, you can get a really good rifle. That sounds like BS, I know. But that had a military trigger on it. It was a 2-stage military trigger with a horrendous pull. But this is going to help out your game a lot. So basically, trigger pull and the exact weights, guys will nerd out on that all day long. I say get something that's designed smart like this. And there are reasons, like I said before, why the military does go 2-stage on a lot of their stuff. A lot of the Tier 1 European stuff is configured very similar to this. I know there's a preference on the American market to go with the 1-stage. That comes from target shooting applications, which is a whole different application, mind you. So there might be different applications, but for what we talk about on this channel, this is for field use type stuff, and I really like these. And of course, it's my opinion that these are the best. But when you get these, you'll get this sheet of paper here. And if you want to nerd out on exactly what's going on, the traceable metric standards and instruments, the mathematical differential equations and all that stuff, he'll map that out for you, and he'll show you the peak force on this individual trigger. This ain't just like copied and printed. He'll give you all the science. That's something I love about engineers, is they're so detail oriented. They really want to prove what they're doing mathematically. And so it's nice to be able to have that backup. But if you need a translator to just explain it to you in simple terms, once you get behind one of these deals, if you get the chance to know somebody who has one of them and do a few dry fires, see how they feel. That first stage, just in a nutshell, you pull it, and I think I got one in a rifle right here. Let's see if I can show you real quick. We'll drop the man. You got this bad boy so don't kill anybody. I checked it like 5 times to make sure we're golden. Okay, we're gonna cock it. We're gonna get behind it here. And so here's one of the Hubers. Let me focus this for you guys. Sorry about that. Maybe, if it will. Yeah, maybe not. So I'm gonna get behind it and trying to drive the camera and the rifle at the same time. Of course, you're gonna want to pull perpendicular. The center of the front part of your finger here should be centered on the trigger, and it should be centered on the trigger. The most consistent placement you can have, and you want to pull straight back. You don't want to push on it this way because you're introducing pressure on this side of the rifle. You don't want to pull on it this way because you're pulling the rifle this way. We teach this in Zero to Deadly and at the seminar and at the live fires. And guys will be surprised how hard it is you have to get it right. You have to have someone watching you who knows what they're looking for. But anyways, so we're going to get here to the second stage. So it's very, very, very safe. And then it breaks right in here. Okay? Not a modern rifle. You can dry fire them 1,000 times and it's fine. A lot of those traditions and wives' tales and fears of dry firing and hurting the firearm come from when they had bad metallurgy in the old days and stuff was not machined the way it is now. There's a lot of, so don't be scared to dry fire one of these things on a modern rifle. So we got plenty of over travel here, which is nice because when it's forward mechanically, this sucker ain't gonna go off if you butt tap it. If you slap it around, you could hit it with a hammer. Rifle ain't gonna go off. If you got a hair trigger with the single stage, that gets a little dangerous. Like when that bolt is down, there's no such thing as a safety. If you slap the butt or if you drop something, you might set it off. So I like 2-stage. That's one of the reasons why. But so you come up in there, you'll definitely feel that second stage, but it is right there. And although it's stacked weight, we talk about that in the comprehensive review, it's like your brain perceives it as almost nothing, like half pound. And there's no creep once you get to that second stage. So that's cool. So that's why I like them. Please actually do, if you have any questions on what I'm talking about, watch the comprehensive review on these things because you can't just read it in a 1-paragraph deal and understand it. Some of the sales pitches you might hear may be a little confusing, but on the video review, I try to explain it and how it interfaces with human biology, okay? Because the way a critter thinks, the way that your finger perceives pull weight is different, okay, than you might think. So that you can't just go off a poundage, you have to go with how your brain perceives it to feel. And so 2-stage triggers, there's actually a little bit of science there. And the science is not all just on the mechanics of the trigger. It has to do with the other huge giant component of the system, which is the human, which is a whole different animal. We expound on that a lot at the seminars, okay? So I wanted to make sure you guys got a chance to see this. The cool part is the price on these deals now actually is competitive with like Timney and Jewel and those guys. These used to be really expensive. Back when I started really getting enthusiastic about them, they were like, I don't know, almost $400 or somewhere in there. But now they're priced competitively, and that's just really, there's nothing that changed quality-wise. Sometimes in business, when you get more efficient in terms of getting everything together, everyone learns what they're doing, you work your way into a rhythm, you know, manufacturing and process and all the other stuff that goes on. For those of you who are business owners, know what I'm talking about. There's a huge learning curve there. And so they're a lot more efficient now they put these together, and they're going to be more competitive in the marketplace in terms of price. So you can go to Huber Concepts, there is the outfit that makes these, and check out what they got. Pretty cool. So let's come back and we'll show you the rest of what we got going on here. I'm going to flip her around. Here we are, and we have Mrs. Rex here. Yeah, you can flip that, babe. That's fine. And you can show kind of, just keep her centered over here on what we're doing here. And we'll take questions after a little bit, guys. I want to show you a little bit more about this McMillan that we're going to use. Now for my World War III setup, like I envision, you know, when Patrick Swayze's helping you with the Russians, I talk about that a lot. I like these for several reasons, okay? It's a classic. It's been battle proven for years. I'm going to move this back a little more. For many, 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 many years, okay? This is, the A5 is actually kind of an upgraded version, which was a collaboration of a lot of experience. If you look over on Sniper's Hide outfit, a lot of him and his guys actually had a lot of input on the A5, which was improvements over the A4. Stuff that those guys all kind of wanted to see in a stock. And they're smart guys with a lot of real world experience. And so the A5 turned out to be a very, very nicely configured stock for that reason, because guys with field experience kind of micromanaged it. And so the way that it's just, I mean, you can study the history. But I like simplicity, number one, when I'm looking for a rifle stock for field applications, because simplicity means there's less stuff to check. There's less stuff that Murphy's Law can get his little claws into and try to wiggle apart. If you have parts that wiggle and move around, they will wiggle and move around. You guys who come to the classes do see what I'm talking about. There are chassis that are highly modular with lots of adjustments that are executed better than others. Some of those are executed so well, they're almost basically effectively a one-piece deal when you get them all locked up together and tightened down. So there are a few chassis that I do like and recommend. Other than that, and it depends on what you're doing too, guys. If you're target shooting, sometimes your priorities is going to be ergonomics. So you got to have your head centered behind the scope. There's so many different things that have to be right for you to execute the fundamentals of marksmanship, depending on what your technique is, how you're going to manage that system. And so we talk about that at the live fires, and when you get your individual equipment out there on the line, we show you how to best manage that equipment, okay? But with this particular design, I like it because it's simple. The ergonomics in the critical areas are there, so you have a cheek adjustment, which is a huge deal. You have to have your head centered behind that optic. It's kind of like, just because you have a rifle scope doesn't mean you just see the crosshairs and hit the target. You got to have your parallax adjusted right, and you got to have your head centered behind the scope. So that's a big deal. So there, we do have a moving part here. This is adjustable, and they can custom configure this for your length of pull. So you tell them what your length of pull is, they'll get it all put together, and it's basically one solid piece of material. When I said I wanted a rail, they got it centered for me, they got it mounted appropriately, they understand the dynamics of the fill material they're using, so they use big enough inserts here. If you can see what I'm talking about, use big enough inserts. A lot of times when you try to cowboy the stuff in your own garage, like I did for the first, 20 years of this whole game deal, you'll wreck a lot of stuff. Or you'll tighten it down and figure out, oh, that was too soft, that wasn't big enough. So you can cowboy your way through it, or you can just leave it to the guys who have been doing it for 50 years. That's why I like designs that have been around for a long time, is because there are bugs that get worked out of them. There's experience that goes into putting stuff together. They claim you just drop the rifle in here and you don't need to do any bedding. So we'll check that. I'm going to throw a Remington 700 AAC with a 20-inch barrel and a 308 in here, and we'll see how she shoots. And I'm going to use, I ran out of this stuff. I got like one box left right here. This is my last box. But I do have some of this other stuff I'll try. But we're going to see how good she shoots. I might have some gold medal laying around. We'll see. We'll do a lot of testing and evaluation to see how that works. I'm superstitious when it comes to bedding. I bed everything because I'm aware of the microscopic subsurfaces, because I have magnifying glasses and tools that I can look very closely on things. And even just the finish on a rifle. Like when you're attaching the scope rail to the receiver, you'll find just like a rough textured finish will cause problems if you don't know how to manage the system. So I bet everything. But I'm going to start off and I'm just going to throw it in here. I'll put my bottom metal, which just happens to fit actually really nicely. So when these things come, they're ready to go. You just put them together in the house and you're set. So if I were to put the action screws in there that came with all this stuff, I'm golden. There's not a lot of screwing around you have to do to get this thing situated. But I'll probably end up doing a full bedding on it anyway, just a skim bedding, especially on the recoil lug, because I am superstitious that way. And I'll explain the story later. But then, now that I have the trigger, man, I can actually take this deal down to my guy and finally put the rifle together. And so the question is, which optic is Rex going to go with on this? Oh, by the way, this giant rail right here, there's reasons for that. There's a lot of different stuff you can put on rifles. I have a few different bipod designs that I like. You can just leave that. Well, I'll show you real quick. This steel is available from Accuracy Solutions. And there's some kind of discount code. I don't know. One of you guys can throw it in the commentary if you remember what it is. If you go on there where you can get like a good deal on these. But these are built like a tank. I'm not a huge fan of the spiky feet for most stuff. They do have their place in certain deals. I like the rubber feet. Now let me see if I can switch this around real quick and show you guys what I'm talking about. So I have two different designs. This is kind of the normal design. Well, they have a whole bunch of different sizes, first off. So they have stuff that's way smaller than this, way lighter. But these are built like you see the mechanism there to adjust it? You have multiple positions. So you can have it forward, you can tilt it backwards, and then you can extend the legs like so. I'm trying to hold the camera and do this, right? So you have that deal right there is not ever going to break. This is the Accutech. The Accutech bipod, okay? This is what I'm switching over to from Harris. Unless it's a very, very lightweight hunting rifle or something like that, this is my favorite deal right here. These are very nice. You can tension them on the bottom. This is your tensioning nut. This is for your cant. So they do have cant, and you can get that tight. I like to have that very tight on my weapons so they don't do that. And this one has a fast attach on the rail. So we could fast attach that deal to my rail here, and we'd be set. One other deal we got here. This is actually their 50 caliber model. If you can see it right there. Right there, see it? And that is quite the beast. You can see that the bipod legs are quite a bit, sorry guys. See the bipod legs are quite a bit wider apart, right? So the axis of where it actually sits is a little bit on this one, a little bit above the line of the bore, which will make it incredibly stable laterally. And for this particular configuration, running a Mirage ULR chassis, where I have the scope mounted really, really high, so that I can get my cheek piece and my butt pad super high, so that the recoil goes straight into my shoulder and I have no muzzle flip. I like to ergonomically configure my big magnums that way. This deal works good because it is so high. This makes the rifle not tip over. However, idealistically, those bipod legs would point straight at the axis of the bore. You know, if you really wanted to nerd out on it. By the way, guys, see that right there? Oh yeah, actually coming up soon, the Athlon. We're gonna test that thing out. But the question is that we were starting on is what optic are we gonna put? Hold on, let me flip around again. There we are. Sorry, guys. What optic are we gonna put on the Patrick Swayze Assistance System in the 308? Okay, I run basically 175s most of the time, unless I'm doing some kind of trick shooting at like way ridiculous, crazy long range type ELR stuff. Then I'll run this right here. Okay, there's nothing else that can do stuff like that. But for the most part, this is going to be your battlefield ammo. This is going to be very similar to like M118, which is most of your snipers are going to run the 118 ammo in the world. It's the 175 grain bullet, right? And so I am going to go with this right here. I don't know if you guys seen this yet. There's not a comprehensive review out yet. I've been playing with it a little bit. This is the ACSS HUD DMR Reticle on their new configuration, which is a 3-18. Which is perfect for a 308. And the 3-18 is a new scope that they come out with, which is significantly smaller than the 6-30. The 6-30 is a 34 millimeter tube and it's a big scope. It's a big heavy sucker with big knobs. Very nicely made, very nicely configured. but for a running around kind of rifle, this thing's balanced out really nice. And this is more of a conventional footprint, and it's actually quite a bit lighter. This particular one actually is made in China, but I will tell you that the Chinese are rapidly catching up in the last 2 years in the optics industry. They are very good at duplicating technology. They'll buy stuff from everywhere, and they'll take it apart and they'll figure out what made it good, and then they'll duplicate that. And they're smart with how they do business, so they'll make sure they get it figured out. And I ain't like pro China. I'm an American made guy, so whenever one of you guys actually makes a scope that for real is actually made in America, and I don't want no lying because I will check to see if it's made in America or not, then you come and tell me you have an American made scope, and then I would love to see one of those. And if you guys need help getting that done correctly, give me a call. I do consulting. I do all kinds of stuff like that. I've been in the field a long time, and I would love to help anybody who's doing a real American made scope. I would love to help you get that deal figured out, get it perfect, to get it to be better than even the German stuff, so that we can make our own stuff over here, and then we'll have that as the official scope that everyone is going to have, because that's the way it should be, right? But the reality is, you buy a Dodge pickup, it's probably made in Mexico. You buy a Ford, I don't know where they're made. You buy a Toyota, which you think is Japanese, is made in Indiana. So nobody knows where the heck this stuff is made. These guys did print China on here. All that being said, the Chinese technology, once they got it figured out a couple years ago, these things actually are very reliable. And there's different factories in China. Some of it ranges huge spectrum from really crappy airsoft quality type stuff all the way up until like, that's nipping at the heels of professional grade optics. And some of it actually is military grade now. So some of the Chinese stuff actually works really good. I know that this particular outfit, Primary Arms, when they get their stuff in, they have a very, very obnoxious quality control guy who takes it out, and he calls me every day and complains about how he's eating dirt, and like he's got like overpressure fatigue, and he's fired like probably, I know he shoots more than I do now. That guy's out there and he shoots, you should see the amount of brass this guy has. They actually got a guy that runs full-time, the guy who designs and configures these things, particularly the magic on these is in the reticle. If you haven't seen the HUD reticle, look up the reviews we've done on the HUD, explaining that, HUD, ACSS HUD, and you will definitely, hold on one second here. The Facebook, if you guys lose me, that's because my phone battery's dead and my cord don't reach over there. So you can come over to the YouTube if we continue on with questions and answers. And I will start to read those in a minute here. I'm going to finish my story, and then we'll all converse and say howdy and talk about how the last month and a half went, because I was not around. I was busy, wasn't I, dear? Yeah, I was busy. And so the HUD reticle is awesome. You basically bracket your target and then hold there and shoot. And you got windage, you got target leads, and this is configured, the ACSS, Advanced Combat Sighting System. You know what that means. And the DMR, you know what DMR is, right? Designated Marksman Applications. This one's specifically calibered for the 308 175s. And the guy balanced it out to where it works at standard atmosphere for most of the United States, around 2,000 foot elevation atmosphere. It's tested mostly in Nevada. And they do have the charts that show you how to configure the 0 to make it work best in your area of operations, or you could configure a load to make it match for this deal. But I happen to be at right around 2,000, 2,300 foot elevation. And even if your elevation is a little bit different, you guys, if you're curious on ballistic drop compensation systems, there's not a lot of them that actually get it right. They usually end up screwing up the focal length sometime after they design the reticle, or a glitch in the software when the Chinese convert it over to their stuff gets it all goofed up. But these guys check it, and then they take them out and they get enough of a sample size and they shoot them enough, and then I go out there and watch them shoot them, and then they send them to me and then I shoot them, and then I go over there and then I shoot them with them. And it's like stupid how easy it is. You can take an 11-year-old girl who's never shot before, Get her squared away on basic fundamentals of marksmanship in about 10 minutes if you're a good teacher, and then lay her down with a bipod and a toe support, and she will kill targets at unknown distance, 18-inch by, dude-sized targets. She'll be rocking the steel out to 800 yards like first and second round hits, no problem in wind, once they teach them how to use a reticle. And teaching them how to use a reticle takes like 5-10 minutes. And then once they get the hang of it, they try it a couple times. Oh, I get it. And it's like, wow. Should actually probably, this reticle probably, by the way, if any politician is watching, should probably be illegal. She kicks me. I'm being funny, right? Of course it shouldn't be illegal. We should be able to buy rocket launchers and AT-4s at Walmart, is my opinion. But we're in the modern age, and they'll drop off crates of weapons for everyone else, but they won't drop them off here for us. Oh well, I don't know why they help everyone else so much in those faraway places by dropping crates of AT-4s, but I would like one too. But I do need it to be properly done. So if you do that, let me know. We'll get the paperwork all figured out, and then whatever, okay? I was told that I'm supposed to be less radical so that I can, I'm a comedian, guys. I'm being funny. I'm making jokes. Don't take me too literally, okay? All right, we're going to start taking questions. That's what's going on. The Patrick Swayze Assistant System, the red down rifle, McMillan A5 stock, and a Remington AAC with the 20-inch barrel. We're going to throw a silencer on that sucker of some kind. I don't remember what kind I'm going to put on there. We got our Huber 2-stage trigger. We got our Badger A5 bottom metal. I'm going to use the Accuracy Solutions deal on the rail. That's why I wanted the rail on there, so that I can actually use this thing. And this is the new model, the TAC 3 right here. If you guys don't know what I'm talking about, this is actually really helpful for making quick windage adjustments and quick. All right, so when you extend the length of so basically when you're laying down, you have a tripod. 2 legs in the front is your bipod, and your toe support in the back is the third leg. So you have 3 legs total tripod. One leg of them is really wiggly. That's you. That's your side. That's your toe support. Now, when you're manipulating your toe support, your toe bag, or your monopod, or whatever you're using, if you've actually been on the field and shot, and if you've actually observed a lot of guys squirrel around and try to get through the learning curve of wrestling that, it's like it takes a lot of experience to get efficient at doing that. If you extend the length of the system, and this steel, they thickened up. This is the TAC 3's way more rigid than the original concept model. The hardware has been severely upgraded, thanks to some of my compadres in the industry who did get some input in there. And the bottom piece is all solid, so it's a quick attach deal. Basically, grab this deal here. What? Do you need like a helmet or something? I'm gonna hit you with something here. Poor Mrs. Rex puts up with a lot of stuff. So we got our hard hat here, like that. Isn't that pretty? We actually got that in the mail from a friend. One of our really good friends, wives, makes really pretty women's hats for classy gals. And so after watching the videos, when I start explaining stuff, I'm swinging my arms all over the place. And so she thought Mrs. Rex could use a hard hat because it's a little dangerous here at the review table. So she made her one that would still be nice for a female. So that's what that is. So watch out. So she got her hard hat on, so don't worry if I whap her on the head. She will be all right. So I'm going to open these deals up here. Then you can just attach this on here like so. And then you just lock it down. Oh man, I screwed it up. I didn't get it in there. Hold on one second. All right, so I'm going to put this in. There's adjustments. I haven't even played with this yet. But the idea is you latch this on there. There we go. And then you attach it like so. And then once it's attached, you can extend your bipod way past the length of where it was. And so the long... Oh, I'm sorry, babe. That was real. This is real. It's funny, but she was wearing a hard hat. Are you okay, babe?
Yeah. It's all good. Just finish
That was not planned. Holy Moses. Okay, so this is dangerous business. Weapons and even the accessories are dangerous. See how long this thing is? But I can extend it all the way out there. I'm going to take this off so I don't hurt you, okay, babe?
Thank you.
Yeah, sorry about that. So I'm going to take this thing off. I'll hand this to you. All right. She knows the drill. You just saved Mrs. Rex's life. You really did. Oh, man. I'm going to have to make up for that one. I know about, oh, dear Lord. Okay, so your bipod being way in front of you makes it way more stable, just geometrically speaking. It's like the lever arm is longer. It takes a heck of a lot more wiggling down here to translate and wiggling on the length of the system. So what you'll see is if you're trying to get on target at like 1,000 yards and there's winds, you know, and we'll start off, you got to get on target at 1,000 yards, but you don't have time to squirrel around getting your toe support exactly perfect. Your pulse is throwing it off, your adrenaline, your breathing, whatever. This will make up for a lot of your own biological slop. And with me, overpressure fatigue, chemotherapy, neurological problems, I'm wiggly now. So I found that when I get on the rifle, that sucker is way more quick to get on crosshairs. I actually forget to use toe support because I'm just using my hand. And the crosshairs is like dead steady when you get it extended. You okay, sweetheart?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, man. I really do love my wife, guys. I can't believe we actually used the hard hat. And it's built nice. Like the pearls and stuff are still on there. See? Oh, man. Oh, anyways, so you get the bipod out there. I'm being more careful now. See, guys? And if you have to make a quick adjustment, like your wind changed or it started moving and you have to get in front of it, or you're changing targets from one to another, sometimes it's very slow to get your toe support fixed out. So it's nice to have the option to snap one of these bad boys on there. And I'm going to put this over here. Put one of those bad boys on there. Or a lot of bipods nowadays are just, you know, Picatinny. So you can slap this on there, take it off, change configurations, whatever you got to do. Put your laser beam image on there, whatever. All kinds of ways. You can put your bipod behind here and put a designator in front, whatever. So I like that. I like a lot of rail space on there. A guy actually could probably put some stuff on the side if he wanted. I don't usually get that Western, particularly with this application. Everything I'm going to need is in the reticle of this optic. All my range finding is in here. My wind hold off is in here. I don't even have to worry about, what about the turret tracking on these Chinese scopes? Doesn't matter. If it holds 0, you just use a reticle. And if the reticle is calibrated properly and you got your 0 adjusted properly, and I like to do, well, we'll explain it in the video. Just watch the review on the HUD reticle. I explain all that stuff. All right, guys. Any questions? Oh, where am I going to put this? All right, so Mrs. Rex is keeping track of the questions. So you point out the questions and I'll read them. We're going to start over here on the Facebook one. How you guys doing on Facebook there? We got a couple guys. Oh, a couple guys on Facebook. Not a whole bunch of them. How you doing, Matt? Is that extension legal for F-Class Open? Good question. I have no idea. I would imagine if it's open, then it's open. If it is, maybe it's good. They thickened the tube. This is carbon fiber, so it's very light. They beefed up this mechanism here hugely. It's all aluminum, so that made it a little heavy, but they did want to insist on carbon fiber. It's very, very rigid. They thickened up on the carbon fiber. It's still very light, but it is like, I can't discern any kind of bending in there. The original model, which was just trying to prove the concept, worked very well as well, but the new one actually is a big improvement. So I don't know if it's legal for F-Class Open or not. That's a good question. And on the Facebook, maybe someone knows. All right, so we got a whole lot of questions here. Holy Moses. Sorry, guys. What's that?
A lot of it's just...
They're visiting? Okay, that's cool. They're allowed to visit, man. Ain't gonna do that. Hey, Rex, thinking about changing the factory barrel out of my M1A SOCOM 1 and 11 twist for a chrome line SOCOM barrel, Criterion 1 to 10 twist. Is that too fast a twist or too short? It sports a can, 800 yards shooting. 1 in 10 has kind of been the standard. 1 in 11.5 is what some of the military rifles use, some of the sniper rifles. But 1 in 10, I read the papers from the Ballistics Research Laboratory from DOD, and it's a stack of papers that big where they talk about what twist are they going to use and what bullet are they going to use for their .308 caliber sniper rifle configurations. What they basically settled on was that 1 in 10 gave them the most flexibility because it was between, I think, the 168s, the 175 grain bullets, and the 190 grain bullets, if I remember correctly. And that twist would stabilize pretty much all of those. And they ended up on the 175, and they recommended the 1 to 10 twist the most. So I put all the stuff away so now Mrs. Rex can have her take her helmet off there, her hard hat. She can put her nice one on, her Sunday one. So she has this too. We wanted to show this off. Hey, can you show it? Yeah, let me show the hat.
You gonna readjust it for me?
So this is what she normally wears, unless they got out this darn thing. She's a good sport. Anyways, but what they settled in on was the 1 in 10 twist because it gives you more flexibility. As you know, if you calculate your Miller stability number and you're looking at how stable your bullet is gyroscopically, you're going to find that there's like flexibility based on atmospheric density. So they like to overdo it just enough to make darn sure they at least maintain gyroscopic stability. And for the applications they're going to use in an M1A, if that's what I think I remembered he was saying, right? An M1A maybe? A semi-automatic platform like that, out to 800 meters. 800 meters, you don't have to worry about dynamic stability at all. So a 1 to 10 is not going to over-twist you. 1 in 10 is what I basically recommend for most purposes in a .308 Winchester.
Chase has a quick question on Facebook.
Okay, so we got Chase on Facebook. So what the hell? I can't see it. If so, is that more of a defensive round or offensive? Which round? The 175?
308. His first question is 308, your choice for Red Dawn World War III round.
I'm a peace-loving guy. I ain't going to be offensive on nobody. Everything I would ever do in a kinetic environment would be purely defensive. However, if it comes to the point where there's Russians landing in your backyard and shooting RPGs at school buses and stuff like that, like in the movie Red Dawn, a good defense is a strong offense. So it would be probably both, if you know what I'm saying. But no. If it comes to anything like that, my general disposition as I mature and evolve in my understanding of the way the world works, my spiritual maturity over the years, I like to think I'm getting closer to the path. I think that a lot of times guys are so itchy to want to fight all the time. And it's fun. We're wired with the Y chromosome to defend the family, to defend the tribe, the house, the ranch, right? That's part of the biology. That's why we are sitting here talking to you. And that's why we've gotten to the point where we are, is because we're wired that way. That's how we were made, to defend the family, especially the man's role is to be a little bit, want to throw in a chair at the bad guy, and defend the honor of the family and all that kind of stuff. So that whole compulsion is there for a reason, biologically speaking, if you want to look at it anthropologically, okay? But in reality, as the guy matures and you back away off the magnification on the whole situation, and you look at the necessity of employing combat done in a righteous man's perspective, it's purely defensive, in defense of those things which are good. So, for example, right? If like on the movie Red Dawn, they came over and they just started blowing the heck out of everything and killing everybody, then we would want to defend our way of life, which is what we have been used to, be where we're at today here in the United States. And I believe in preserving I'm a patriot. I'm going to defend America. And there's a whole lot of that's a good discussion for a podcast where we can rant for about an hour on that. But I'm not itchy for no kind of fight. Not at all. And in reality, even if guys, there's some guys who are so far on that fringe where they're itching for fight so bad, they think that it's like we're ready to go. It's getting close. If they do one more thing, we're going to have to get them. that attitude, in my opinion, I beg to differ with that disposition now, based on more experience. Usually we get kind of what we deserve because those people that we have put in charge are a reflection of our culture overall. So as a nation, there's individual responsibility, even if I have my own house in order, but the collective community, the collective country does not. And if the nation has fallen to the point, that's why God has, if you look in the Bible, a huge amount of forgiveness on the nation of Israel. He gives them a lot of chances to get their stuff right before he sends down the judgment. So I think that he's doing that with us because there's momentum, there's righteousness momentum, and I think that he's like long suffering that we would finally figure out how to do the right thing rather than to be subjugated. But if it were, God forbid, to come to the point to where something would go awry in the situation where a lot of people are itchy to start shooting everything right away, I don't think I could participate in that deal, man, because in the vast scheme of things, now we're evolving into like a Sunday post-Shabbat Bible discussion deal, right? If that's cool with you, you stay tuned. If you want to be smart on this deal, you know, this is a skilled set that we pass on to people, and the people that are truly got their stuff together in a group are usually professionals or people who, I don't want to sound weird or nothing, but people who are mature, because to master this particular level of marksmanship filters out a lot of the goofballs. So we don't get as much of that around here. And so this discussion is maybe perfect tailored for our group. So I'm going to continue a little more. But when you're talking about if, let's say, it got to the point to where we elected such bad critters that they went kind of awry and it went in the wrong direction, like really in the wrong direction, I would escape and evade as best I could. I'm not looking for any kind of fight. I will defend myself from bad guys or criminal activity, but I'm not going to go out of my way to look for a fight. And in all honesty, when you look at the overall context, if the culture has adjusted itself in that way to where we have lost control of the culture and it's just complicit, the culture evolves into a total crazy Babylonian free-for-all kind of situation, the only long-term corrective mechanism is to suffer the consequences that we have on ourselves. That's why God has allowed places like Egypt back in the day to kind of subjugate his people. Babylon, Nebuchadnezzar, Cyrus, Persia, the Roman Empire. God allowed the Roman Empire to take that place over because they wanted to worship the gods of Rome. If they want to worship the gods of Rome, well then God says, if you guys like them guys, well then I'll allow you to experience the full package deal, the full Roman Empire deal. And so they got the politics of Rome when they went with the gods of Rome. And if we want to evade the consequences of those deals, the answer is not to just get all kinetic right away. We're not going to fight our way out of this kinetically. The true answer is to turn our hearts back to the Father, humble ourselves, realize that we don't got our stuff together, and that guy will then turn his face back to us and heal our land. That's how you truly save America, is to restore the culture it was once founded upon. The Constitution of the United States and the Bill of Rights were founded upon God and God's moral character and that whole reality. If you don't like it, see you later. Don't let the door hit you on the ass on your way out. I love you guys. You're all good critters. Any other questions? We got some other good conversations, I'm sure, here on the YouTube. Let's check out maybe some more gun questions here. Rex, how do you feel about using cheaper ammo such as M80 ball and the 308 for practice in a rifle intended for a SHTF scenario? Okay, seems to practice zero with ammunition that you won't have is kind of silly. Well, M80 ball is probably what you would end up using after a certain point in a poop hit the fan scenario, right? So if that deal were to happen, M80 ball is probably what you actually are going to use after you run out of your fancy stuff, right? Okay. And so learning how that works and logging that is simply a matter of, okay, in a BDC reticle such as this, where do I get like a median 0 to where basically the trajectory lines up? And the M80 ball, by the way, is very effective in the HUD reticle if you adjust your 0 a little bit. Simply learn where M80 hits, write that number down on the side of your rifle stock with a marker or carve it in there. Dude, if you're scared to scratch your rifle, then you and me's on a different page. Some of them are pieces of art. I have some beautiful weapons downstairs that are blued steel with wood that are heirlooms. But if you're talking about a weapon, it's a tool. You're going to write down someplace on there on a piece of tape or whatever what your M80 0 is, then you just simply adjust your 0 to that. And then your BDC is ready to rock and roll with M80. And then if you're going to run your match 175s, then you put that on your other 0. And then so you just keep track of where you're at in your turrets. That's all you got to do. It's not rocket science. So I would definitely practice with M80. When I get the chance to go down there into the land of perfume and vomit, Las Vegas, to hang out with my buddy who lives there, and actually shoot these things a lot. We run M80, we run 175s, but he shoots a lot of 180. You can pretty much own a 100-meter radius with M80, no problem. It's plenty accurate for this kind of business. All right, what else we got here? Oh, M80 is actually on a HUD out to 950. There you go. What do you think about betting on a scope base? Excellent question. Let me grab this here real quick. And without showing the mess in the kitchen. This is a rifle right here. This is a 7mm-300 Magnum. This is my ULR rifle. This thing puts them all in exactly one hole. One thing we show you to do is, this is a secret little tip that you'll find free of charge. If you come to the seminar, we expound on exactly how to do this. This base is bedded to this receiver, because if I was to do a check, I'll flip her back around here. If I was to do a check on it and use that contact stuff, like if I'd put powder on the bottom and then touch it or color it up with paint and then touch it and tighten it all the way down and take it off, like one corner's touching over here, one edge is touching here, there's maybe a blotch on this side that's touching, the points of contact are very little. And so as things heat up and change, or as the recoil happens, it's sliding around without a lot of contact. So I would have a gunsmith who knows what they're doing, tell them, I want my scope base bedded to this, especially on a Remington 700, or even on a tier 1 rifle. I think that's a good way to go. Another note to be aware of is you would probably want to do that before you do any kind of thick paint coat jobs. If you're Cerakoting a rifle or Duracoating a rifle, in terms of ballistic soundness, internal ballistics and reverberations and how stuff tightens, paint is pliable. As you tighten it down, it's going to hammer around a little bit. And so if you tighten your scope base to a painted surface, it's going to squish over time. It's going to be moving on the air. You're always going to find yourself tightening it. And if you put on your Loctite too early, then you're going to think it's tight, and it's not. It's actually loose, but the screw won't turn, so you think it's tight. If you come to the seminar and the live fire that Rex Defense does, you look up the Rex Defense website. The next one we have is in Las Vegas, December 1st and 2nd. We talk about that in detail. We get one of the main components of the viable long-range precision shooter squared away, which is your equipment. We get that ahead of time in the seminar. So we talk about all those topics in great detail. And then we sit around the supper table and talk about them into the wee hours of the night. And Rex only sleeps for 3 hours because I love what I do. And I love sharing what I do with what you guys, because you're all my best friends. Except for her. She's more my best friend. Poor girl. What?
There's a gentleman on Facebook
Okay.
asking.
Where
He
we
has
at?
a 308.
Show me the thing. I'll need to see it. There's probably some top secret numbers. Yeah, if you find it for me and then point at it, I'll read it out. All right, we'll go back over here real quick. Who wins? George Clooney versus Matt Damon in a gunfight. Oh, for God's sakes. John Wayne. John Wayne's in real life. Actually, Steve McQueen. Do you know Steve McQueen? Or actually Keanu Reeves. Keanu Reeves in a real world situation out of all the Hollywood guys would win. Steve McQueen actually practiced a lot too, believe it or not. When he did his stunts on his motorcycles, like if you watch the movie The Great Escape, I mean, that was Steve McQueen driving a motorcycle. And when he was doing the cowboy movies with the fast draw, he actually, when they timed all the cowboys and how fast their draw was and how good of pistol ears they actually were, Steve McQueen was like very competitive. A lot more than the guys who would look real tough after all the editing, right? So right here's the question.
Yeah.
Rex, I got a seminar under my belt. Going to attend a live fire soon, I hope. Can I still get it done with the 3.8? Of course. That's a very common cartridge that we have at the RX 1000. We have adjusted the curriculum over the last year quite a bit. The early classes was an experimentation based on a collaboration of a million different opinions of trying to get the best deal. We finally zeroed in on the RX 1000 curriculum, which is centered in on field applications, maximizing your potential in the field, no BS assessment. It's come a long ways. So 308 is a real world cartridge that a lot of guys will use. And so that's something that totally, yeah, absolutely, bring that to the RX 1000. Now, if you're going to do ELR with it, you're going to have to use this ammo right here. Hold on, where is it? You can do it with this ammo. And it'd be fun to embarrass all those guys with the Magnums too, just by using superior projectiles in a little tiny cartridge like that. That's normally not that flat shooting. All right, let's go on this side. All right, as long as we have Keanu Reeves, Russia won't try nothing. Yep, that's right. What are your thoughts on the 6.5 Creedmoor? Thanks. 6.5 Creedmoor finally reached its critical mass in terms of logistics. Before it was a Wildcat. Now that it is like the super hyper popular cartridge in precision rifle shooting circles, you can get ammunition anywhere on that thing and in the United States. And so it's a viable round for field applications too. You got 30% less wind hold off than you would on the 308, and you have half the recoil of a 38. So if you're trying to win money at competitions, if external ballistics or hitting the target on the first shot is your priority, 6.5 Creedmoor is an awesome round to pick, especially if you don't reload, because they offer a lot of different kinds of options in terms of over-the-counter factory ammo that's affordable in that caliber that shoot really good. If you're a reloader, then it's a 5-hour conversation. Just pick a caliber and reload good for it.
This one right here.
This one right here?
See?
Which one?
This one right here.
Is there a seminar in Vegas prior to the live fire? Yes. So actually, I need to book 2019. I've been gone away from my computer so long. The seminar, we are going to offer a live fire in the Southwest. We'll put it like that. We're looking for spots in that general vicinity of Las Vegas, somewhere within driving range of there. We got stuff in Arizona that might work. But yes, the seminar is actually the next course we have on the list, if I remember correctly. Yep, so that will be prior to the live fire. That's why we have that set up. Mind you, from the other professionals I've had who have come to this seminar, it is actually really, really, really in-depth, hardcore, drinking from a fire hose type deal. So you're going to want to study the 101 series for free on YouTube first. Study that heavily. Then when you come to the seminar, all those videos are the individual parts of the machine. We show you how to assemble it in a way that actually works and how to custom fit each part of that. The seminar is probably going to be heavy for a brand new shooter. If you're brand new, if you want to learn long range from scratch, I have a magical teaching ability to convey it on 3 levels at the same time. The engineers like it. Engineers really like the seminars. That's mostly who, I mean, we got like guys who are like heads of departments of Raytheon coming to our seminars. Like we got head sniper instructors for entire huge organizations that come down to the seminar, and they love it. That's kind of where that seminar is geared for in the market, is for the tier 1 guys. That being said, I still try to repeat every concept in regular cowboy English too. So normal guys that are getting into it, who have been starting off, are like accelerated into the future 30 years of experience just by taking that class. And you'll save like, I don't know, $50,000, $100,000 of screwing around by taking that class before you start buying stuff. So that's a good way to do it. We also have a 0 to deadly, which it has no prerequisites. That's kind of a field seminar. We don't have any scheduled just yet, but we're going to probably do that in the next few days here. Find some good spots, and we'll have the 0 to deadlies. We take you out there to 100 meters or 100 yards, whichever you prefer, and we'll shoot and then talk. And then we'll shoot. That's the organic way of learning the craft. Like anyone, like with their grandpa or their father or uncle or the cousin would go out and learn to shoot a gun, and then, Grandpa, why did I miss to the left? And they'll say, hey, son, you got to watch your cheek pressure there. You push the gun over or whatever. And so we do the 0 to deadly is all the material, particularly the internal ballistics, the marksmanship management, and the equipment selection part of the seminar done out in the bush with your equipment. It is kind of nice to take the seminar first if you don't want to buy equipment that sucks. So it depends on which way around the barn you want to go. Either one of those is our entry-level points. We are redoing the website right now, the Rex Defense website. And once that's redone here, it should be done very quickly. We will put those classes for 2019 up. And we're going to go for at least one more year on the deal before Rex disappears into the woods.
There was a gentleman who wants your website information.
Yeah, so if you go on Rex Defense, just look up Rex Defense, Google it. You'll find Rex Defense, okay? That'll be the website. I can't give out websites on YouTube, but if you would Google Rex Defense, you could find it. There's like a big Tyrannosaurus Rex head on there. You might see pictures of guys that look familiar on there. So the website information, the new website we're having, I think it's called Tier 1 Marketing Solutions. They've done websites for a lot of heavy hitters back in the day. And so the website will be refined and organized in a way that should be maybe a little easier to navigate. My newsletters will actually work when we do new podcasts. Sorry about the podcast, guys. Those will actually go out. So I'm going to figure out how to, get the newsletters to work. And when you're doing that stuff, I'm not a computer guy at all. And so that's something I have to delegate to the computer guys now. And so I finally reached the point where the computer guys are doing it. All right.
Just went down.
Facebook went down. Oh, man.
Plug it in.
All right, go ahead and we'll plug that in. We'll just make sure that's turned off. Sneak around the side there. Make sure that's turned off before you put it somewhere. Like live YouTube stream of Rex on the Thunderbox or something. I'm sure you guys would enjoy that deal, huh? All right, what else we got here? Yeah, man, how you guys doing this morning? 7mm 08 for long range shooting. We just had a guy to class, the last class we did, and he rocked it. 7mm 08's a great projectile. Very nice. That's something you're going to reload for. So if you're a reloader, then you can, there's a whole bunch of really good 7mm bullets available now. Hornady makes a bunch of really good bullets now for the 7mm projectiles. And so if you're a reloader, that's one of my old-time favorites. That and the 260 for the same reason. There's a lot of bullets available, but you kind of want to reload for that. Yesterday I was feeling kind of sick. I was feeling kind of sick yesterday, and I was like, man. And then I remembered I just trained for a month and a half, and I drank like 1 bottle of water through the whole course of training. Yeah, you gotta stay hydrated, man. Stay hydrated. All right. I went 308 because I wanted a gas gun with 20-round mags. It's more versatile ammo. It's easier to get for 308. If I had enough resupply, then it wouldn't matter. But there are not many 300 Winchester Magnum gas guns. So I think they're having a conversation there. A lot of times I gravitate towards what they call logistical superiority. That means you will be able to find parts, ammo, components. That sometimes is a priority over external ballistic or terminal ballistic performance. Rex, have you tried the Victrix rifle? No, I don't even know what that is. Is that a real thing? Victrix? I don't know what that is. What do you think of the Tikka 2-stage trigger? Actually, Tikka executes their stuff pretty well. If you're looking for something over the counter where you don't have to mess with it, buy a Tikka rifle configured for long-range shooting, and maybe the next upgrade would be like a good solid chassis. I think is it MPA that makes a good chassis for Tikka. MPA has a pretty decent chassis, if I remember correctly, for Tika. But if you just buy an over-the-counter Tika T3 in whatever caliber you like, they shoot very, very well. I'm going to tell John Wick Putin was one behind killing his dog. You guys are hilarious, man. My opinion on the M18 Mauser. The M18 Mauser? Haven't really handled an M18 unless you're talking about something different. Okay, Night Force SHV F1 for starting and long range shooting? Question mark. Yeah, sure, why not? You know, the price I think on those is what, under $1,000. The SHV is all the same parts that they use in the high-end Night Force. They just throw the parts together and put them in a box and ship it to you. In a nutshell, it's not that simple. There's a certain amount of inspection that goes into it. But what gave Night Force such an incredible reputation for all them years was that everything was custom fitted together and checked. And so all of them worked. Like Night Force, if you got one, it was reliable, it tracked with reliability, everything worked, it didn't suck, it wasn't broke. It wasn't the Wetzlar mechanism like the Germans have for tracking and all that. So it's not quite as good as probably some of the German stuff, but it was a professional and tactical grade optic. The SHV is way cheaper because there's less quality control, less humans on the scope checking everything. So if that's where that money goes when you spend more money on the more expensive models. So you can do the SHV. We've had a few at the class. I think both of them either didn't work or didn't track. Like either they totally pooped the bed or they, what the heck was the one that we had with D'Ambrosio? If David D'Ambrosio is watching, he has one. You can ask him. He's in Oklahoma. He usually he's running for politic type stuff. And so I like to talk to him. He's actually a pretty cool guy. But he runs a SHV. And this one? Right there?
That question like 3 times.
Oh, okay. Thank you. The wife, once I started answering a question, I got tunnel vision and I don't see anything anyone else is saying. This question right here, babe?
No, this one right here.
Oh, thoughts on the new Schmitt and Bender reticle? If you're talking about the one that I think you're talking about, I think that was Eduardo's kind of project, wasn't it? Can you name the reticle for me? There's a new one that Schmitt and Bender is coming out with that Eduardo Foncaberta, a good friend of mine, he's the man that knows what's going on. And so if he has anything to do with the reticle project with Schmitt and Bender, that's a reticle I would say would be a very well configured reticle. Because he has the same kind of point of aim that I do in terms of application. We both like that whole first round hit scenario. That's kind of the way we think. A lot of guys think in terms of maybe, competitive circles or other applications, but Eduardo's he's trained in the old school methodology, the old school mindset to command the situation on that first shot. And he's a 50 caliber world champion shooter, and he's King of 2 Mile president back in the day. I mean, Eduardo knows his stuff. Nobody really needs to flash his credentials because he doesn't need to. But if he had anything to do with that, okay, there's a few different reticles. I mean, the Schmitt and Bender has a lot of reticles. But if it's the one I think you're thinking of, I'll do a review on that if I can get a hold of one. The new Schmitt and Bender reticle looks like a winner. Any thoughts on it? And are you a fan of the Tremor 2/Tremor 3? So if you're talking about Tremors, Tremors 2 is the one where Bert gets, I think, commissioned by Mexico to go down and fight the graboids. And so he gets unlimited funding, and the Mexican army gives him anything he wants. And so Tremors 2 is awesome. That's where he finds out, that sometimes no plan, this is a lesson, guys, no plan survives first contact, right? So he was all set up to blow up underground worms in Tremors Part 2, right? Instead of the little remote control cars with the dynamite on them, they'd blow them up when they'd eat them. You guys ever see Tremors Part 2? If you haven't, you need to watch it. Go rent it now. Do they still have movie rental stores, babe? If not,
around here.
You can go to the bargain bin at Walmart and get all 4 movies for $3 probably. But Tremors 2 is fun. I really like Tremors 2. When he got to Tremors 3, it was a very low budget movie, and they had ones that would fly around, and it was just done just to be a funny movie. It wasn't even serious at all. But Tremors 2, man, there's some lessons to be learned there, I'm telling you. I'm going to have a recommended movie watching list before you come to the classes, just so that when you have our references back to Red Dawn or Tremors, you guys know what I'm talking about. So we're all speaking the same language there. No, the Tremor reticles are excellent if you know how to drive them properly. That's the trick. There's a little bit of training involved with getting it done right. If you just hand it to somebody and say, here you go, good luck, buddy, they're going to just see a lot of stuff going on. They're not going to have any idea how to drive that thing. Designs that I like are ones that are very intuitive, that can be explained quickly, that don't take a lot of training. That's my preference, but the Tremors 3 reticle, or the Tremor 3 reticle, actually a friend of mine is one of the guys who helped design that. And when I finally sat down with him on the phone, I said, dude, explain this thing to me. I'm like, oh yeah, that makes a lot of sense. It's a very smart reticle. But it's kind of an engineer's perspective. So you have to have a little bit of an engineering mindset, and you have to have some knowledge of external ballistics and how time of flight is one of the key functions to running that. Man, it's hard because I love all these guys who are in the industry who do all this stuff. So there's different applications for different tasks. There's different priorities for different things. You know what I'm saying? So it depends on exactly what you're trying to accomplish. If I had to just like all of a sudden like create an army in 10 minutes, I'd get something super simple and easy, a BDC design where they just bracket the target and shoot there. And everything would be written with numbers, and then they would all have the same caliber, something that was laying all over the ground, and that's the way I would roll. If you have to start explaining time of flight to certain people, they get confused, even me. But it is a very smart reticle. I believe Mr. Hodnet is kind of the expert on that stuff, and he's the guy that gets guys really squared away on that. And that's been kind of the choice of a lot of the top tier units, the precision shooting guys in the last few years, is the Tremor 3 reticle, because it is very effective once you learn how to manage it. But if you come to the seminar, we talk about how the human brain is wired and how the occipital lobe keeps a lot of your brain tied up, because the visual input's the biggest input to your brain. And when your brain is tied up with all these tasks you're trying to balance out, keeping things simple visually sometimes has its advantages in certain situations. So actually, my favorite crosshair still, to this day, is either like just a straight MP8 style, like a P45, like on the old Schmitts, or like a mill dot. Very simple. Because when things get complex, you don't need to make them more complex, especially when you're trying to figure out where to hold. I dial it in, I put my spin drift on there, and then all I need to worry about is wind hold off. That's what I do. I have everything written on the side of the gun or taped on there. I print off a little table based on JBM off the system that we invented way back in the day, and do it like that. And there's a million different ways you can put your data on your gun. A lot of guys use tape. You can just boxing tape it on there or whatever. And really, when it comes to that, Patagonia Ballistics is a nice program. It's very flexible. You can configure everything the way you like it. I need to go and talk to those guys and review their product and maybe interview them. I think that'd be interesting. So Patagonia and Cold Bore is looking like they're kind of coming out on top. Did I miss anything interesting thing here? Bunny Poop is almost here. Dimitri from Primary Arms. Bunny Poop reticle. That's the ballistic precision reticle. Is that what that's called? BPR. The little round dots look like a bunny was hopping around and leaving little prizes. So that's what we're talking about. Rex, did you call Pete the Sniper? Question mark. Pete the Sniper. Who's Pete the Sniper? I don't know who you're talking about. Are Boyd stocks good? Sure. Any stock that's like made out of one deal, wood stocks can be really good. Laminated wood stock in terms of internal ballistics. That's the other thing I forgot to mention. With the McMillan stock, and I hope, there's still a lot of you guys watching. So if you, on a McMillan stock, There's a certain amount of harmonic dampening that occurs when the energy of the recoil is transferred into something that can absorb it and dampen it. So really hard metallic material like aluminum can ring more like a bell and exacerbate, or if for a guitar player, understand the concept of sustain. The more dense the wood is on your guitar, you go bring, and it rings out forever, right? Now, the more you're grabbing on it, the more you muffle it, okay? So there's different schools of thought on how to manage a rifle there. But if your stock is a little softer, it kind of mutes it. It kind of mutes that vibration pattern, and wood is really good at doing that. And so wood can be very effective. You just need to make sure that that thing is properly installed and embedded in the right places and then free floated from the barrel. If you bed a wood stock, a good quality, laminated stocks are nice because there's multiple layers of directionality in which way that wood wants to warp, and they're a lot less apt to twist around. As a user, and from an art perspective, I'm a solid American walnut guy, like a black walnut stock. But wood stocks will actually act to harmonically dampen that, so there is advantages to materials like that. Get your wife to show rockin' bod. Oh. And if you guys are lucky, I can't reach through the computer screen. That's what would get a chair broken over your head, if I'm thinking what I'm thinking you're saying. But I have a sense of humor. We'll be all right. Hi, Rex. Please tell me about the nice Narine rifle on 338 La Pua. Wouldn't it be nice one rifle that does all scenario? Good question. So the Narine 338 is a semi-automatic AR-15 style rifle. I believe that's a gas impingement design. I did a review on it. Watch the review. I didn't explain all the stuff. It's very accurate. At 900 meters, it was like on your fist or just a little bit larger all the time, even with Hunter's Shack ammunition, which ain't my first choice in precision ammo, although they do have some pretty good ammo lately, better than it used to be, and they have probably different tiers and grades of ammo. You know, last time I said that, they got all, yeah, I'll tell you a story about it at the seminar. Crying a river. It's like, hey, man, pay more attention making your ammo better before you start writing letters to everybody and telling them not to say things. Every once in a while, you got to pick a fight, right? It's fun. The Narine rifle. The Narine rifle is a really good shooting rifle. Very accurate. However, using the HSM ammunition that was provided for the review, the rifle was not super reliable. It would hang up. I would say the rate of hang up would be 5 to 8% of the rounds, maybe even close to 10% hang ups on the rifle. And it was oiled, maintained, cleaned perfectly. It's a target rifle, and you get a really quick follow-up shot when you shoot. Like, boom, it's nice for ELR stuff to have a quick follow-up shot right behind it. But in terms of reliability, there's adjustments you can do with the gas. There's a lot of things that you got to have squared away. That would probably take, you'd have to really use that rifle for a while to let it totally break in and figure out the exact sweet spot for the gas adjustments. And then you would also have to tailor ammunition and size it appropriately for that kind of a deal. I kind of think they were on the tight side on the chamber because it was very accurate. You can do that. I wouldn't use it for World War III, but I definitely use it for having fun and shooting targets. I mean, Mrs. Rex drilled that bottle at, well, it was a 950 on the second shot. Actual second shot. We never shot that target yet. That was the first shot of the day. So, not bad. It was very accurate, wasn't it? Remember? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, people often wonder about that. Come to our live fire at the RX 1000. You know how sloppy people get when they shoot at steel all day sometimes? We all do. Aiming small and missing small goes to the wind after you've been shooting some steel too much. We like to set up this at 500 to 1,000. Or those little clay pigeons the shotgun guys shoot up, we set those up on the buttes. And then we're shooting them at 900 and 1,000 yards. And guys are like just right off the edge, right below it. Oh, and then they dust it, you know? And so you will be amazed how much you tighten up your shooting when you shoot at smaller targets. That's why I shake up sodas or beers or water bottles or lay a clay pigeon out there and shoot at them. There's a reason for that. Not just to be silly, not just for video effect, but to train you to shoot smaller. Laughing my butt off, I'm talking about the reticle tremor too. Yeah, I'm not an expert on the tremor reticles. I do know the idea. I do get the concept. I've seen them. I've shot with them. I like simplicity for my application. I like to dial in a custom index firing solution and do it that way. Now there are pluses and advantages, and there's a cost and benefits, right? For everything you gain, you got to sacrifice something, but it's a matter of prioritizing things that'll hose you this big. Sometimes you might gain this much in one category, but you might lose this much in another category in one particular scenario. In another scenario, you might have to sacrifice a little bit of, mechanical precision to get like ergonomics squared away or whatever. We talk about that ad nauseum when you come to our training events. You guys know how that works. But yes, my general preference on reticles is based on the lens that I look through the most in terms of my shooting, like the lens of my perspective in general. And I like to do first round hits on small targets at extreme long range. That's my goal, so I like a clean reticle with nothing to confuse me. That way I can focus on the firing solution and get it dialed in exactly right, and then all I have to worry about is wind. Carbon fiber barrel. Your thoughts, Rex? Very light. That's a dynamic issue. That's interesting. So I got a proof that shoots really good on an axial precision rifle. Really, really nice shooting gun. However, it's very light. Excellent for field applications involving climbing mountains, hunting, running around. If you're going to carry the rifle forever, so if weight is a priority, go that way. However, for shooting, weight can be your friend. The more heavy the rifle is, the less you have to manage recoil by grabbing on it. The less you have to grab on your rifle, the less you're wiggling the rifle around with your wiggly biology. Ever think about that one? So I love carbon fiber barrels when I'm trying to climb a mountain if you're going up in the, Bob Marshall wilderness for like a month with all the stuff and junk you have to carry. Your entire house is in your rucksack or your pack and all that, and you're going to be gone for a long time. Then carrying a lighter rifle is actually kind of nice. And you just shoot one round at a time. There's things you can do to mitigate that. All you need is one shot to be in the right spot when you're hunting. Your buddy Pete, the sniper cop. Oh, yeah, my buddy Pete. Yeah, of course. Yeah, the sniper cop from RX Live Fire. We talked about him at the Combat Command Fire. So what are we asking about Pete earlier? I forgot what we were even talking about. No, I haven't talked to Pete for a while. Yeah, Pete was, I don't want to get it wrong. I think he's 82nd Airborne. I sometimes conflate those with 101 guys, and they don't like it when I do that, but I'm pretty sure he was 82nd. Yeah, Pete, he's a cool guy. He's a really classy dude. He just retired. He was in law enforcement for a bunch of years. He's probably incognito on the computer, so I don't know if he's watching or not. But yeah, he's a cool guy. I love Pete. He's one of those guys that's like a good guy. Remember the kind of guys I like to spend time with. In fact, I think I'm going to go call him and maybe we'll go out and have supper this week. I think that's my plan. Today, if you are watching, Pete, Rex said howdy. Have we been on for 93 minutes? Oh man, is there a football game or something? Aren't you guys? How about them sports games, guys? You guys watching the foosball? Believe it or not, I used to love playing football. I loved playing it a lot. But watching it, I'll watch the Super Bowl. I'll watch the games once in a while. I get the idea of camaraderie and beer. And like maybe a big old, what are those turkey sausage things I like? I don't know. Drinking beer and like eating sausage and watching, especially up here when it's 20 below. Like once it gets cold enough to where I don't want to be outside all day, I'll watch football. Otherwise, I'm too busy. I'm too busy doing stuff. You do know that sports, obsession with sports is in the actual written down rules of how to overthrow countries that the communists use. and the Bolsheviks would use. Did you know that? Actually, they wrote about it. Said if you can fixate people on sports to where they use all their combat mind power to play a game that doesn't matter, then they're busy with that. If they're not using that part of the brain, let's just pretend there was no sports. People would then use all that combat mind power, and I'm talking sports is simulated combat that's done in a totally different way than would be used in the real world, unless you're going to only throw hand grenades. Okay, now that's a deal that would probably be good, right? But I'm talking about normal like basketball, football, foosball, whatever, right? And I like playing sports. I used to be a sports guy. Keeps you in way better shape. I was in a hell of a lot better shape when I used to run around playing football, okay? So that's definitely a good thing. And it's a good, peaceful way to be competitive and all that and have fun. But if you let that occupy all the combat mind power in your brain, guess what they do? It keeps you distracted from the actual thing, which is people in your back of your house filling up the van with all your stuff, robbing you blind, because politicians and people are just bad sometimes. And they'll tax you. You'll be clueless on the world, and you'll be all zeroed in on the fake land. See, they're projecting stuff on you that may or may not be real when you're in sports land. But if you pay attention to, back in the old days when they founded the country, when they sat down and read the letters and read stuff, they would study law, they would study history, they would read the Bible. And this country was founded by guys that were like all college professor level guys. They were probably just farmers because they just sat around and read all winter. They didn't watch foosball. They built their skill sets in areas that were actually directly applicable to maintaining their lives and creating the most awesome country that has ever been seen in the history of the world, in my opinion. America, baby. Where's the button? It's been fun, guys. I'm going to shut her down before the 100-minute mark. We'll catch you soon. The seminar in Las Vegas, Nevada. You can bring the family. It'll be during the weekend, so the wife and the kids, they can go and look at the crazy museums they got. They got wax museums. They got the Hoover Dams by there. They got like all kinds of neat stuff. A zoo probably, blinking lights, whatever. So the family can be busy during the day, and then afterwards you can all meet together with supper, go hang out with the family, and have a family vacation. And while they're doing all that boring stuff, you guys can come hang out and do the RX seminar with us. December 1st and 2nd, if you go on the current Rex Reviews website, you can get signed up. That one still is on there.
Rex Defense.
Oh, geez, I got it wrong. The Rex Defense website. Rex Defense website is where you find the classes, okay? So if you go on there, we'll come meet you at Las Vegas. Should be pretty cheap to get there. Was it Allegiant? There's them airlines that are like $137 for a plane ticket if you shop carefully or whatever. I always buy my plane tickets on Tuesday. But aside from that, guys, we love hanging out with you. And we're going to start doing some live stream Bible stuff after a while here. You guys want to do that? We did have we had a little preaching, didn't we? No. We had a little preaching. We're going to ease it in there. So you got to ease it in not to scare everyone away too bad, right? The true plan emerges. We'll catch you guys